Hi guys, and welcome to this very special deep dive. So this deep dive is about an effect that is launching right now, and this is great. I first saw it well over a year ago when it was in its prototype form, and I loved it even back then. Now, before we go any further, if you haven't done so already, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell, and you will be notified every single time we put a video up, which is great, or when we go live, which is awesome. Now, before we get into this, don't forget that on Thursday, the 30th of this month, is it Thursday or Tuesday? Can't remember. Thursday, I think. Yeah, Thursday the 30th, we have got a live launch, so make sure you join us for that on YouTube or Facebook. But that's enough about that. Let's introduce our special guest, no stranger to the deep dive, my very good friend, the legend that is Mr. Craig Petty. Mr. Petty, how's you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm missing you because there hasn't been a product in what, 30 minutes?
It's been at least 2 weeks. It's at least, I think it might have been a month. I worked out that in 2024, not counting academies or lectures or online lectures or anything like that, just physical products, I put out 17. So
wow.
That was a lot. Yeah, 17.
That's probably more products than we put out as a company. 17 products. The thing is, wow. I mean, and everyone knows Craig Petty project, and as a production company, I'm speaking as Alex Sam now. I love it when you come to me with an idea, because I know it's not just a one and done trick. And even though there's nothing wrong with that, you know, a trick's there to do a purpose and it does it well, that's great. But you always think about the product so much. And I've said every time we chat and every time we do one of these, I always stress the fact that I saw this chip thing well over a year ago, probably 2 years ago, I would say, the prototype. And you've been working it and tweaking it and everything in all that time. Now, most people, you know, come up with an idea for a trick and they release it next week.
Yeah. Well, I don't like doing that. I mean, there's always this thing in the industry, isn't it? Which is, Craig's tutorials are so long. And some of them are ridiculous. A lot of them for Alakazam are, the Nightshade coin set, like 10 hours of tutorial or something. But the reason that they're that long is because I've spent a long time working on this stuff. And what I don't want to do is have an idea and go, right, okay, that's it. Let's send it to a production company, because then I've never created a trick or worked with a trick that hasn't got better through live performance. And I don't understand people that can create magic and put it out and never perform it. And I know it happens, but for me, a good trick becomes a great trick when it's worked in the real world. The amount of times I'll do something and I'll go, well, okay, that didn't work at that point like I thought it was going to. So maybe I need to do this instead. Or the spectator might say something and I go, well, that's a brilliant thing. Why didn't I think of saying that? And the more you work something in, the better it gets.
Yeah.
And ultimately for me, the more I work something in, the more options I'll see with it. So, rather than being a one-trick pony, it's kind of like, well, this is the main thing. This is what you can do with it. But also, by the way, you can do this and this and this and this and this. And that just comes through live performance. And this is the perfect example. The trick we're talking about today, Big Blind, it's a Murphy's item. So it's coming out through Murphy's. But it was the very first trick that I went to Murphy's with. It's something like 4 years in the making, this trick is. And over the 4 years, it's changed so much. It's gone through probably about 10 or 15 different iterations, but this was on the cards before the Quantum deck, before ED Seat, before any of the products that I did with Phil Smith. Before any of that, this was the very first thing that I did with Murphy's. And the development of this over the course of the 4 years is interesting. We've gone through about, and I'm not exaggerating, about 20 different prototypes.
Yeah.
You actually helped me with one of the prototypes. If you remember, the way that I did it once is I had jaggedy edges on the gimmick, and you were like, I understand why you've got those, but that makes it difficult to actually operate the way that you wanted to operate. And I was like, you're right. I couldn't see that, because for me, I could do that no problem, but it would be a difficult thing for anybody else to do. So that came not from performance, but for showing friends like yourself who can very objectively say, that isn't a good idea. Now, it would have been very easy once you said that to me to go, well, that's what Pete thinks, but he's wrong, and just release it. But what we did is we completely went back to factory level. We completely went, okay, let's take that prototype and put it in the bin. I contact Murphy's and I'm like, I'm speaking to Peter Nardi. This is what he thinks about the gimmick. I think it would be a really great idea to do it this way. We now wait 2 or 3 months, we get another prototype, and we're starting again from scratch. And that's the process if you're doing this stuff properly. And as well as me, we see so many tricks come out on the market, and I'm convinced that the person that's released it has never done it in their lives. They've had an idea for a trick, they haven't even prototyped it, they've made one, it works, they've shot a trailer on their iPhone, and then they've sold it the next week. And I just think that's the biggest problem in the industry, at least in my opinion. So, I spend a long time working on this stuff, and this is an example.
Yeah, and I just want to pick up there as well, because you said about the long tutorials as well, because there is this thing now where people are going, oh, I don't want a long tutorial. Now, I just want to stress this. I love, sorry about that, I love long tutorials. When we say long tutorials, if you say it's an 8-hour tutorial, that doesn't mean it takes you 8 hours to learn the trick. It's 8 hours full of different routines that you can do with that gimmick or that set of gimmicks or whatever it is. And what I do, and I did it, the first thing I did it on, which was probably our first mammoth project with you, which was the Mirage coin set. When I was editing that, I literally, every trick I went through, I put a tick next to the ones that I knew I wanted to prioritize learning. So yes, there was 25 tricks on there, but by the time I had watched them all, I said, okay, I love them all, but these are the 5 I'm going to concentrate on, and this is the order I'm going to do it on. And I always say to people, when it's a big project, grab yourself a cup of tea, find a quiet space, watch the video, but don't watch trick 1, try and learn it, trick 2, try and watch all the effects, make a note of which one's out of them, because like the Nightshade, there's 4 versions of Free Fly, but you only need 1. But which one suits you? Make that decision and learn that one.
Exactly. That's so true. And the other thing is, who am I to know what one person's favorite trick is? I had somebody, I was at the session recently, and someone came up to me about Nightshade, and they were like, oh, I love this trick. This is my favorite trick. I do it in every single gig. And then somebody else came up to me at the session and said, oh, I love this trick. Couldn't be 2 different uses of the Nightshade coin set. If I'd have chosen just to put a couple of routines on there, somebody's favorite trick might not have been part of that project. So from my point of view as a creator, I've got several jobs that I need to do. But one of my most important jobs is I need to look at something that I'm bringing out, and I need to say to myself, right, how many different things is this capable of? Yeah. And what can I do with this? And then I want to present that to every single person there. And people can make their own decisions as to which tricks they learn or they don't learn. And that's just something I like doing. I mean, I'd say one of my favorite tricks that I brought out in 2024 was the Svengali deck project. And, it's the same process that I went through with the Svengali deck project. I go through every single trick, which is, okay, I've got this Svengali deck. Everybody uses it this way. But if we take that and we put a pin in it and we go, well, we can't use it that way, what else is it capable of? What else can
Yeah.
we do with this? How can we think outside the box? And that's all I do with every single trick that I bring out. I just look at it and I go, right, okay, this is the main use. But what else can we do with this?
Yeah.
So.
And you know, especially saying what you just said there as well, we can take Trebloon, for example, which isn't a Craig Petty effect. It's Eric Stevens. But Eric had two routines with them. And the routines were similar, a different way of presenting them, but it was a production of coins and a vanish of coins. Now, if you would have bought Trebloon without your input, you buy it because you like that one routine, which I love. I perform it. But there's so many people, because of your input on it and the extra handlings and the way you thought about using the gimmicks, which were completely different to the way Eric thought about them. There's a lot of people that say, oh, I perform this. Now, that wouldn't have been possible if you hadn't had your input, if you hadn't added those extra thoughts and touches and routines. So,
well, exactly. Like, I'll tell you something on that. You know Warren Treadaway, incredible magician, incredible close-up magician in Birmingham, big customer of Alakazam. I was speaking to Warren the other day, and he's a great coin worker. Yeah. And he was saying that, he's got Trebloon and he loves Trebloon, but he initially wasn't going to buy it because he saw the two routines that Eric presented, and he said they look great. And Eric's routines are amazing on Trebloon. They really are fantastic. But he's like, I've already got a couple of tricks that I do up here. It's very similar to what I'm already doing, so I don't think that's going to work for me. And he'd made his decision not to get Trebloon. And it was when he was watching the live launch and you played that performance clip of me doing a bunch of different stuff with it. I think I was doing 2 copper, 1 silver. I was doing like a named coins across. And when he watched that, he was like, actually, no, this is for me. Yeah. For those particular routines. Now, that's not taking anything away from Eric because it's Eric's trick. I genuinely think the best use of that coin set is what Eric's done with it. But for that particular person, for Warren right there, he was looking for something else.
It gave him an option. That's the thing. I mean, I perform Eric's routine. I carry it with me all the time. It's in my pocket now, and I perform his routine. It's slick, it's fast, it's magical.
I don't see you, by the way, Pete. You're not on the screen.
Oh, sorry. It's slick, it's fast, it's magical. But I can totally understand Warren's point of view because, the production and the vanish, you sort of cover that on Nightshade. You've got pretty much the same thing. All right, there might be a slight difference, but pretty much the same thing. So you could replicate that sort of routine with Nightshade. But because of what the gimmicks are and the way you think outside the box and you add more content in there, it allows other people to sort of go, okay, well, that suits me. These 4 possibly not, but that's the one I'm going to do. And Nightshade, for instance, as well, that's 30 plus routines, I think, on there. Now, realistically speaking, as a working magician, you only need to learn 3. But how amazing is it to have 40 to choose from, rather than going, well, this is the only 3 you got to learn them.
Exactly. Well, I'll give people a little scoop, and I'm probably going to get in trouble with Pete here, but the last couple of days I've been shooting another entry to the Elite Coin range, and it's a little bit like the Bag Reborn in that it's kind of a more budget friendly entry into the Elite Coin range, because some of the coin sets, because of Roy designing them and what you need with them, we have got another one of those on the way, so please don't worry. But I've been filming this coin set with Nemid. And the props are very simple. It's very, very magical, very different to anything else in the Elite Coin range. And I started filming with Nemid the other day, and he looked at the props and he's like, right, you got 2 tricks for these 3, right? And I was like, no, I've got 35, mate. And he was like, you've got what now? So, it's the perfect example. It's like, and I said the same thing to Nemid. I said, yeah, the 35 tricks, but I guarantee you, all 35 are going to be used by different people in different ways. So, we present what what we present, and then people choose which ones to use or not use. But I will guarantee you, every single project that I've ever put out, and every single trick and every single project, if it's on the project, it's been worked in a gig. It's not something I've had an idea sitting in this office and I'm like, oh, I'll throw that one on there as extra content. No. Anything that ever makes any one of my projects, it's been gigged. It's been checked. I've made sure that it works how I want it to work.
Yeah, it's true. So I think it's about that time we drop the trailer to your brand new effect, and then we come back and we speak about that.
I would love to. I cannot wait to talk about this. I am very, very excited. This has been 4 years in the making.
Well, would you like to introduce it?
I will do, yeah, definitely. Let's do this. Right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, on behalf of Murphy's Magic, I would like to present to you right here on the Deep Dive, the trailer for Big Blind.
Now, these poker chips have been here in your hand from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And the card that you picked was the
8 of clubs.
the 8 of clubs. And I did know that
Yes.
from the very beginning. And to prove it to you, I never showed you the other side of the poker chips. But if I had, this one has an 8, this one has an off, this is a club.
What the fuck? Okay, wait.
Oh my gosh.
Wait. Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? No fucking way. No fucking way. That's incredible. What do you mean?
Okay, think of a card.
Okay.
Got one?
Yeah.
Got £150 in poker chips here. 350s. Hold your hand out. I bet you 50 quid, £50, I can tell you the suit of your card.
Okay.
It's a heart.
No.
No? What was it?
Spade.
So close then. I tell you what, I'll bet you another 50 quid that I can tell you the value of your card. Now that would be better, right?
Yeah.
It's a 7.
No.
No?
No. It was a 10.
A 10. So I'm kind of in the right sort of ballpark. I tell you what, one last poker chip. I bet you one last one. I bet you 150 quid. I can prove to you ahead of time I knew what card you'd think of.
Go on then.
Well, what was the card?
The 10 of spades.
The 10 of spades, yeah. I didn't show you what was on the other side of these.
Okay.
But if I had have shown you, you'd realise this is a spade. This is an off. And this is a 10. This is exactly what happens. You put 3 poker chips into the hands of the spectator. They can literally name any card that they want to, and then they turn over the poker chips themselves, and when they do, they realize that their card is printed on the other side of the poker chips that they've been holding on to from the very beginning. I never showed you the other side of the poker chips. But if I had, you'd realize that's got an ace on it, that's got an of on it, and that's a spade.
Are you coming? No way.
This is Big Blind. So your card was the 7 of
diamonds.
I knew that. I influenced you to pink the 7 of diamonds. No, I'm going to prove it to you. I never showed you the other side of the poker chips, did I? But if I had have shown you the other side of the poker chips, hold your hand out flat, you would have known that this is a 7. This is an of. This is a diamond. The face.
No way. No. I got no way. Wait, sorry. I gotta look at that. Can I see the other poker chip? Have you got any more?
That's it. That's the only three.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. That's so good. That's so good, man.
Now, let me point some things out for you. On the project, I'm going to go through multiple ways of doing this. There's handlings that can be done sitting down in a formal situation. There's handlings that can be done in a self-working way where you've completely eliminated any sleight of hand. But the most important thing that you need to understand is that this works 100% of the time. It's super easy to do, and it's any card. The poker chips aren't switched, and they are really in play from the very beginning.
Okay, third check.
And this one.
No!
Yeah. Yes.
Bro.
Wow, that's great.
You see that?
The perfect opener, the perfect mentalism trick, the perfect magic trick, the perfect everyday carry. Well, let's be honest, it's the perfect trick.
Guys, that this one is a heart, this is an of, that.
That's mental. That's the mental. That's nuts.
What?
Did they name the right one?
Yeah, 7 of hearts right there.
What?
No, you gotta remember. You in on that? You in on?
Yeah, that was my card, 7 cards.
You just go on holiday.
Thinking about the 7 of hearts.
Mate, perfect. Thanks, man.
That was amazing. That was amazing.
So much. Seriously.
That's good.
I can tell you, I have to get things like magic circle.
Yeah, no, you don't do that.
Wow.
Does it still say 7 of hearts?
Yeah, of course it does. Because that's what's on the chips. I can't change them. It's on the
Yeah, but that's mental. How did you see that?
You know I thought about the card, and that's oh my God.
Mate, that is so good. So good.
It's killer, man. You know what? I was talking to Lloyd Barnes about this. I mean, you can see what the effect is on the trailer. There's more than that one effect. We can get into that later on. But with that effect, it's so powerful. It's so strong. Like I said on the trailer, there's no table required. It's walk around. It's examinable. It's like about a 5 or a 10-second reset, something like that, maybe 15 seconds. There's very little pocket space. There's multiple ways of doing it. It's just the perfect trick. It's the perfect opener because you walk over and you do it very, very quickly. You grab their attention. It establishes credibility. I love this trick so much. But I was speaking to Lloyd about it because he's performed it and he gets insane reactions. You saw the reactions I got there. I mean, I get insane reactions from it. And I was trying to work it out with Lloyd, and he actually said something which I think is very, very true, which is this. Most magic tricks, there's not really an element of surprise. I'm going to put a coin in a bottle. You do. I'm going to make the card come to the top of the deck. You do. I'm going to have this card go into my pocket. Card to wallet is a perfect example. Every single time you do card to wallet, you bring out that wallet, you know that the audience knows that the card's in there. They have no idea how it's got in there, but they know it's in there. They've already kind of put the steps in their head. They go, right, okay, I know where this is going to go. There's very little, if you actually think about it, there's very few effects in Magic that have a really strong surprise element to it. Even mentalism, you know, when you put down a prediction envelope, that prediction's going to match. It's a foregone conclusion. Yeah. When you have somebody write down the name of their best friend from school, they know that you're going to tell them what their name. They have no idea how it is, and they're going to be amazed when you do it. But there's no surprise there. Now with this, there's a surprise because the chips, the poker chips that are on display the entire time, and they are on display the entire time, you're putting them into their hand. They just think that this is a prop that you're using to make this bet. They don't think it's got anything to do with a prediction because you're not saying, I have a prediction. You're talking about a bet. So when you get to the point at the end when you go, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. I knew what your card is from the very beginning. Turn it over, and they can turn over the chips on their hand themselves. And they say the card there. That reaction is because they're seeing something they didn't know was going to happen. They had no idea where this chip was going to go. They didn't realize there was a prediction involved. And then it's too late for them to backtrack. They're like, hang on, these have been on my hand the whole time. I could have thought of any card, which they can. It's a little bit like Sixth Sense. Why was Sixth Sense such a good film? Because you never saw the end coming. It's the same with this. They never see it coming. There's no way to know ahead of time what this trick is until the trick's finished. And that, I think, is one of the big, strong selling points of Big Blind.
Yeah, no, I agree. And even when I was just watching that trailer, now I haven't played with this. You showed me the prototype a couple of years ago. We've spoke about it, everything else. I know how it works, but I haven't played with it. But watching the trailer, and I haven't watched the tutorial either. So you've probably got this covered. But straight away, I'm thinking combining this with an invisible deck and the chips being your kicker, you know. And look, the only card face down is your card. But I know what you're thinking. Maybe I use some sleight of hand because that's what I do. But if I did, I couldn't have put it on the back of the chips as well, or, you know, whatever. I presume you cover invisible deck and everything in there. It's such a great thing.
Actually, it was designed. Yeah, it was designed to be done with an invisible deck in mind. So the gimmick is the perfect size to fit onto the back of a card box. So you can have it on display. You can be walking out to an audience, holding a deck of cards the entire time. They've got the chips in their hand. You're having somebody name any card. You take the cards out of the box. The gimmick is gone. You're showing that all of the cards face up. There's one card face down. It's their card, and then they can turn over the chips themselves, and you've got that kicker ending. Yeah, the gimmick was designed to fit on the back of a card box or maglock onto the back of a phone. So yes, absolutely, that's on there. And that's the thing. The routine that you're seeing on the trailer, which is kind of the main routine, it's the inspiration behind this was twofold. The first was Killer Prediction by Cody Fisher.
Yeah.
And the other was Predator Wallet by Paul Wilson. You remember the Predator Wallet, Pete?
Yeah. I think I was the first in the UK to have the Predator. It was a go-to effect for me.
It was amazing. I mean, you can't get it anymore. It's not been available for years. The problem is it's a very big, bulky wallet to carry around. It was kind of big back then. It's even bigger now with modern-day wallets. Also, you had to tie up a lot of money in the wallet in order to make it work. The other problem is you couldn't really examine the wallet. You had to have that moment where there was a business card in there in order to show the wallet empty, which is fine. But also the bills weren't on display from the very beginning. It's not like you just bought 3 bills out and you just had the 3 bills at your fingertips. They were in the wallet. You had to have the wallet. But that was the starting point. And over the course of years, it got to a point where it's like, well, hang on, let's do away with the wallet completely. Let's do away with absolutely everything. And instead, you walk up with 3 poker chips. You put them in their hand, and, you know, you can achieve that same sort of effect, but they're printed on the poker chips and so on and so forth, and examinable. So that one ahead type Predator Wallet, Killer Prediction type thing was the original starting point for Big Blind. And that routine is amazing. And there's Javier and Lloyd are on the project, and they go through various ways of doing it without even needing any sleight of hand whatsoever, which is just brilliant. But there's lots of other ways of doing it as well. So there's ways, like you said, with an invisible deck. There's ways with predictions on the phone. There's a way of doing it where you literally put the chips down on the table. You say, name a card. They name a card, and then the chips are turned over, and it's got the card on the back of it. One of my favorite uses for it is I actually use the hook line. I'm going to show you the difference between sleight of hand and magic. And I bring out 3 poker chips. I put them on the table, and I say, right, name a card. We'll get back to it later. So they name a card, and I go, brilliant. I'll get back to that, but first I promised you some sleight of hand. And I use the poker chips, and I do a 3-fly. I teach on the project a very simple 3-fly with just 3 poker chips that make the chips jump from one hand to the other. So the chips jump across, and I say, that's sleight of hand, but that's not magic. What was the card you named earlier on? They say the card, and you turn over the poker chips, and the card's now printed on the back of the poker chips that they've been seeing throughout the routine. So the prediction of the card becomes the kicker ending to this really cool visual sort of coin-style routine that they've been watching up until that point.
Yeah.
The point is, it's not just that one ahead thing. There's so much you can do with it. But as somebody who's done Predator Wallet for years and so is used to that one ahead system, it works so well. Imagine that you can do that, but you don't need a wallet. You don't need anything. You just need 3 chips at your fingertips, and you're good to go.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a great idea, and it is something, like you said, that can be used as a sort of EDC. You're just doing it like you saw on the trailer there, as a sort of walk around, 3 chips, nothing else in play. But if you wanted to make this bigger, if you were at a table, me and Jenny recently went to the Magician's Table show in London. This will be perfect to do there. It can play so big if you get an invisible deck involved. You know, you got a perfect multi-phase routine, and the chips become the impossible kicker. They're the things that you couldn't have altered, you couldn't have switched in, you couldn't have done sleight of hand. The chips are there all the time. You know, it's very, very clever. I love it. I will be picking myself one up because I can see it playing. I love gambling routines. I've said it before because I think it connects with the audience, because everyone knows about Las Vegas. As soon as you mention Las Vegas, they've either been there, and even if they haven't, they know what it is and they know what it's about. So as soon as you mention Vegas as a premise to an effect, people are interested. Vegas, gambling, money, people are interested. And this is perfect because it ticks those boxes. If you want to put a longer presentation to it, it will be very easy to create a story about being conned or conning someone or out conning the con man, whatever it might be. It'll be very easy to build that presentation around these chips. It's really good. So skill level, what would you say? Absolute beginner?
Well, the cool thing is,
before?
Yeah. The cool thing is there's so many different ways of doing it. So the way that I typically do it, or the 2 ways that I do it, I would say the skill level is out of 10. If 10 is ridiculously difficult, maybe a 2, perhaps a 3. You're not really having to do any palming other than this one moment towards the end of the routine. The rest of it is completely self-contained. However, Lloyd and Javier have completely self-working ways of doing it. Javier especially has got this really genius idea where he's got the gimmick in full view the entire time. Nobody ever sees it, and it means he's doing everything that he needs to do right in front of the audience, and there's literally no palming, which is brilliant. And Lloyd has actually got some really nice routines on there as well, where he's not even using it as a prediction of a card, he's using it as a prediction of a number as well. And that's the other thing that you can do if you want to. I know that this it works in any language, obviously, but I know that some non-English speaking countries will go, well, that's a little bit weird that we've got this of. You have got handlings on there where you can eliminate that of chip and just use 2 chips and just have a card and a suit on there. And that's why we went with a picture of a suit rather than writing clubs or diamonds or whatever,
Yeah.
so that it could work in any country.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
So
is
there's
great.
self-working ways of doing it, but the routine that I do is maybe a 2, potentially a 3, depending.
That's good. So it's well within anybody's grasp to pick it up and actually perform.
Oh yeah,
it.
and this is designed. This is something that's designed to actually be gigged. It's designed to be worked. It's not designed to be put in a bottom drawer. This is something that's designed to actually be worked. And if you've never done a prediction like this, where you kind of, what I love about this is there's so many tricks, aren't there, Pete, that's being marketed, where it's like, hey, the audience thinks of any card, and you predict the card right from the very beginning. And there's normally some sort of limitation involved in it. It's not any card. It feels to the audience like it's any card, but it's not any card because there's some sort of stipulation in place, like, hey, let's eliminate the number cards and the pick card, or whatever it may be. But with this, it is genuinely any card, any one of the 52 cards, including the aces, including the kings. It's not like, hey, everybody thinks of an ace, so let's not think of an ace, think of one of the others. Every single card that they can name is going to be predicted. It works every single time, 100% of the time. And it's easy. That's the key thing. It's, I've got no problem with working hard. I've got no problem with doing sleight of hand. I've got no problem with busting out. I'm a coin magician at the end of the day. I love sleight of hand. But why work hard when you can work smart? You look for the simplest approach. Now, sometimes the simplest approach, Pete, is a pass. Not easy, but it's simple. It's the most direct approach. Honestly, I genuinely believe if you want to predict a completely thought of playing card that someone is merely thinking of, and you want to be able to predict it with 100% accuracy, I can't really think of a stronger way of doing it than big blind.
Yeah, it's great. And the thing is, it is an effect that if you want a quick opener, you can use it. If you want to play it bigger, you can use it. If you want to do a one and done, if you want an effect that's strong enough that if you've only got time for one effect in a walk around gig, this is strong enough for that. You can see that from the performances there, that it's strong enough for that. But as part of a bigger routine, it will be a killer finale. It's that moment where I go, oh, I ain't got a clue what's happened next. He ain't touched them. So it's got so many benefits as a prop. If you don't even look at it as a trick, but more as a utility prop that you can add to some of your other routines, I think it's got so much going for it that the fact that you can predict any playing card on those 3 chips which have been out since the beginning, that's very strong, very strong.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, some people, and I'll be honest, as much as I love the invisible deck, and I still use the invisible deck for a lot of other things, since working with Big Blind, I've not really done the classic invisible deck handling because, I don't need to. The invisible deck is great, and there's a million other card routines that are great, and there's so many wonderful ways to predict a card, but there's always a deck of cards in play. How many card tricks have you seen where there's a deck of cards in play? This is a card trick without even needing a deck of cards. Well, hell, Ryland loves this. Ryland doesn't do card tricks, and he loves this.
Yeah.
So, and it has to be good to impress Ryland. So that's one in my books.
No, mate, it's absolutely great. It is great. And that is Big Blind. That is available right now to pick up. Gets our highest recommendation. I've seen.
And I will say, and this isn't some sort of FOMO thing, there are limited supplies of these. It's going to go out of stock. I know it is. One of the reasons that it doesn't really matter why it took so long, but basically it was going to come out last year, but we had to completely take it back to the factory and redo it again for a variety of different reasons. I wanted it to be absolutely perfect, but it is in limited quantities. That's not a FOMO thing. That's not a sales tactic. That's just a fact. It's not going to. There's not. I hope there's enough units, but I don't think there will be.
Yeah, and you've only got to look at the track record of Murphy's releases in the past, when you look at things like Demi Deck, look at things like the Quantum Deck, we sold out in maybe 48 hours after release, but then it was a few months before we could get there. And this is even going to be harder than things like the Quantum Deck, because these are all manufactured. This isn't, let's just print a deck of cards. These are manufactured. So once these go, I would presume, you know, being a producer myself, you're looking at 3 months. Minimum.
Yeah,
Once
minimum.
the stocks are gone, you're looking at 3 months, 4 months minimum. So, yeah, I think you're right. If it's something that interests you, I'd grab one while you can, because I think it's going to be another winner.
Well, you know what?
Mr.
Also,
Petty.
I'll finish with this. Lloyd and I were talking, as I said earlier, and I don't know what you think. He said the thing with Big Blind, it's very different to anything that I've ever brought out. It's a very different thing. If you think about everything that I've ever put my name to or anything I've worked on, this is kind of a very left-wing departure on a lot of the stuff. And I think he's right. I think this is very different to anything else that I've done. And one of the reasons I'm really excited about it, I think that last year I must have set some sort of record when it came to the amount of decks of cards that I produced that aren't actually playing cards. And all of them are fantastic, and I love every single one of them. But it's nice that kind of this year it's starting off moving in a completely different direction by presenting something to the community that really is very different to anything I've put out.
Yeah. No, 100% agree, mate. I think it's a great way to kick off 2025.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
the first major release of 2025, I think.
Yep. But watch this space, because me and Alakazam have got a lot of stuff coming up this year. A lot of stuff. I've been filming the last few days for Alakazam. I've got pieces of paper all over the office with various different projects that we're filming. Some of them are mine, some of them aren't, some of them are other people's, but we've got some amazing stuff coming out this year.
Really have. And there is another big Petty products coming out in the next few weeks, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Can you drop the name of
so
it?
if you're talking about, yeah, I think we can drop the name of it. If you're talking about the Atomic Deck, is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Atomic Deck, which is my any card at any number. Assuming that everything works out like I hope it will, it'll come out just before Blackpool.
Right.
And, you know, I've been obsessed with the any card at any number plot my entire career. And I think I've published more versions of ACAN than anybody else. And as far as I'm concerned with the Atomic Deck, I'm done. There's nothing else that I can do with it. This is, well, one of the magicians stroke mentalists I respect the most is Mark Paul. He literally wrote the book when it comes to any card at any number and the Burglass effect. And having watched it, and he says this on camera, he turned around to me and he said, "That is the cleanest any card at any number I've ever seen. What you just showed me, Craig, that is the Burglass effect."
Well, that's coming soon. I can't wait, because and I'm just going to, on closer, I'm just going to say this as well, because the Atomic Deck, once again, when we talk about stuff being worked, the Atomic Deck, you showed me the early version during lockdown.
I did.
During lockdown.
Yep.
So that's how long ago that was, and how long you've been working on this effect.
Yeah,
and I think we'll get you on for another deep dive, and you can do it live to me.
I will do it live, and I'll repeat it and do it again and do it again and do it again. Absolutely. It's very, very special, the Atomic Deck. I'm very, very proud of it. And I'll leave you with a big, huge spoiler that I probably shouldn't tell anybody, but I'm going. We talk about long tutorials. I'm very proud of the fact that I've managed to fit everything in that I wanted to fit into both Big Blind and the Atomic Deck. But the Big Blind tutorial comes in at less than 90 minutes. But for people that worry about my long tutorials, there you go. And the atomic deck comes in at less than 60 minutes because there's nothing really to teach. It is what it is. However, and this is the big thing that I'm very excited about, on the atomic deck, there is a special 90-minute bonus interview where I sit down and chat with Lloyd Barnes and Pete Turner about ACAN as a plot in general, and Pete goes through how he uses the atomic deck and how he actually, his approach to ACAN to make it more impactful on an audience. And honestly, that 90-minute interview right there is worth the price of the trick on its own, let alone the fact that you're also getting what I think is the best any card editing number ever made. I'm biased, but so there you go. Pete's on the project.
Can't wait. Well, it's going to be the buzz of Blackpool. I'm sure of it. Absolutely sure of it. So, Craig, thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. And we will no doubt
You're more than welcome, guys.
We'll no doubt see you very soon, my friend. See you later, Craig.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. See you again soon.
Guys, so that's it. Get yourself over to Alexam and pick up your Big Blind by Craig Petty. The thing is great. You can see from the trailer the reactions that it gets. But like I said, it's one of those tricks. It's really nice because it's one of those tricks. You can use it as a quickie when you're doing mix and mingle, when you're hitting tables, if you're doing a parlor sort of presentation, or you could use it as part of a multiple prediction. You can use it as part of a bigger routine. I would look at this more as a tool. It's a tool to reveal a card, and any card, a full of cards. So if you've got a multiple spectator routine, you could build this into that routine. Just put a little bit of thought to it, but you don't have to put that much thought to it because Craig, in his tutorial, has probably covered almost everything. So get yourself over to Alexam and pick one up. And before I go, if you haven't done so already, please remember to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you will be notified every single time we put a video up on YouTube. So I'm Peter Nardi. That was the legend Craig Petty with his brand new effect deep dive, and I'll see you again really soon on another deep dive special. See you soon.